If Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery were hoping to float a test balloon of how a potential merger of their two entertainment companies would be received, the news has gone over like a lead balloon. Many are unhappy about the idea, and Wall Street has responded with very little interest.
In this video, we share everything we know about a potential Paramount-WBD merger and how it could impact you. Let's start with why these two media giants would consider combining. Both companies are struggling beneath mountains of debt, and they're having a hard time keeping up with the streaming leader, Netflix, which has more users and revenue.
Axios reported that Paramount CEO Bob Bakish and WBD CEO David Zaslav met for several hours in New York in late December. It has also been reported that Zaslav has met with Paramount's parent owner Sherry Redstone about a potential deal. Bakish and Zaslav reportedly discussed how their companies could complement each other and together take on industry leaders Netflix and Disney+.
It's currently unclear who would acquire and who would be acquired if a merger occurs. Axios reported that both options are on the table and that WBD has hired bankers to explore a merger. Now let's talk about what's in it for each company. WBD's international distribution footprint would bring more viewers to Paramount's marquee content franchises.
And Paramount's kids' content would bolster Max's offering there. CBS News and CNN would combine to create a strong global news presence.
And let's not forget the golden ring of streaming, live sports. CBS's sports footprint complements WBD's nicely. Both brands have March Madness streaming rights, for instance. A merger could potentially give subscribers access to the entire tournament.
A merger could help Paramount deal with its $15 billion of debt, but it would pile on to WBD's existing $45 billion in debt. WBD's market value is nearly $29 billion, while Paramount has a much lower market value of $10 billion. However, Wall Street is not hot on the idea of a potential Warnamount. In fact, both companies' stocks fell at the news. Why?
Hollywood Reporter writes that analysts have a hard time seeing a transaction happen and are comparing it to a financial death sentence. And the deal would likely require significant regulatory approvals that could take 1 to 2 years to straighten out. The current FTC and DOJ boards have been aggressive in blocking industry consolidation, so approval could be hard-won and require divestitures.
A merged company would control a multitude of cable outlets, from HBO, TNT, and TBS to Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, MTV, and more. And that matters because if WBD buys Paramount, 50 to 90% of its revenue would be linear, which is a dying content delivery medium.
There could be even shareholder lawsuits. There are 5 major movie studios currently. This merger would combine 2 of them, and 2 major TV studios and major sports rights.
Yeah, there appear to be a lot of hurdles to an actual merger of the two companies. But what could be easier and satisfying to consumers would be a combined streaming platform, while the companies themselves remain separate. This would, in essence, create a streaming version of the old cable bundle, and it could be packaged and made available through streaming platforms like Amazon and Apple TV. Ultimately, that could be a more profitable move for WBD, and it would shield it from acquiring all of Paramount's debt in the deal.
Analysts have actually suggested a better suitor to outright buy Paramount, Comcast, which owns NBC Universal. It has the assets to buy either WBD or Paramount and grow the acquired company in a meaningful way.
Now that's the business side of the deal. But what would Warnamount mean for you? If history is any indicator, a combined mega streaming service would mean higher prices, less content, and sudden cancellations of series you may like watching.
Generally speaking, less competition leads to higher prices, not lower ones. And as The Verge reported, it could also mean fewer people deciding what stories are made. That would result in fewer voices and perspectives in the pop culture mix.
They brought up an interesting example from the not-too-distant past. About 100 years ago, most of the biggest Hollywood studios also owned the theaters screening those films. That meant some towns wouldn't get the biggest movies because their theater was owned by a rival studio. It resulted in, of all things, the Paramount Decree, which ended the ability of studios to own the theaters that distributed their content.
It's ultimately not clear whether or not a merger will actually occur, or that it would be approved even if the two companies decided to go through with it. But if it does happen, it would bring far-reaching implications across the streaming space.
And in a space this dynamic, neither Paramount or WBD can afford to sit on the sidelines for long without getting lost in the dust of Disney and Netflix. Media execs may like the idea of the merger, but consumers and employees are likely to find themselves worse off. We hope the merger doesn't happen, as we think it would potentially result in less content, more confusion, higher prices, and employee layoffs. We benefit from more competition, more options, and more stories.
Yeah, let's hope this merger talk stays as just that, talk. In the meantime, we'll keep watching the streaming space and reporting on it here on our channel and in our live streams, which air on Fridays at noon Central.
Let us know what you think of a potential Warnamount. Would you subscribe? What do you think it would be priced at? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can get all our latest news and reviews when they drop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.